So hi, Sean and Josh, our data governance consultants here at Eckerson Group. How are things today?
Very good, thank you.
Excellent.
So you guys have a ton of experience in data governance, both as practitioners and consultants, probably 40 plus years collectively doing data governance, which is quite impressive. For companies of all sizes, brand name and not, Xerox, Kellogg, TD Bank, Sun Life, governments in Canada. So I'd love to know, what have been your biggest wins, biggest successes in data governance?
Josh, you want to go first?
Sure. I'll break mine down by most money found and the biggest impact. So most money found was actually what got me hooked on data governance. Through my first data quality program, I found a series of billing errors that were costing my company, or the company that I was working for, $850,000 a month.
Wow.
And that problem had existed for over 3 years. So I helped that company save a whole lot of money with one data quality report. That was a really awesome win. The other one is really, I was working at TD Bank, and we had to stand up data quality controls to support DFAST, CCAR, and a couple of other regulatory requirements like Basel II. I supported 19 different legal entities in TD Bank across the US, and in 6 months we went from zero data quality reporting to data quality reporting that not only met but exceeded the requirements of all the regulations that we had to comply to. Big wins.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah,
That obviously made your executives feel a lot more comfortable that you had that degree of quality control reporting in place.
And to do that kind of work remotely before the days of Zoom and all these features that we have today, that I think that says a lot, that people really came together, and we got it done.
Great. Sean, how about you?
I would say one of my biggest wins is very similar to Josh's. It was really about the money and the value that it was bringing, and it was with a large industrial manufacturing organization, and we were focusing on plant maintenance optimization. So they had well over 100 tradesmen there every day, and if they didn't have their work orders and everything sorted out properly, there was a lot of inefficiency. So a lot of people standing around or not having the parts they needed. So making sure that you have the data qualities there, data standardization, all of that. So a large initiative to clean up that process, clean up that data, implement stewardship to make sure that the process was delivering the results that they needed to manage those maintenance activities. And there was a really strong level of support from the executives because they understood how important this process was, and everybody down to the technicians understood the importance of putting the right data into the system so it would make things happen downstream.
Terrific.
Very positive outcome on that initiative.
Okay, so now people don't do something for as long as you guys have without making a few mistakes. Mm-hmm. So I want to ask you, what lessons have you learned in doing data governance in your collective 40 years of doing it?
Well, I'll go first this time. So I think one of the biggest lessons learned is that things are constantly changing. So when you start an initiative, whether it's project-based data governance or enterprise-wide data governance, the landscape's going to change. The people are going to change. And, one of the biggest struggles that I've come across is where there were, with a government agency where there's a high level of support for the data governance implementation at the beginning. But then as we got into it, there were massive organizational changes in the agency, and that really undermined the momentum of the project. But it also gave us an opportunity to change focus from enterprise-wide data governance to embedding data governance into some of their core processes. So really data governance by design. And although we weren't successful in creating the enterprise data council and all of that, we were still able to give them benefit by showing them how to do data governance at more of a tactical level.
Oh, perfect. That's kind of what people want these days. Lighter weight data governance that's injected into the core processes of an organization.
Yeah,
Josh, how about you? Take us home here.
For me, I'll definitely say focusing on outcomes was really important. When we started at the big green bank with a more academic deployment of data governance, people didn't see the value. So if you take the time to understand the business, talk to people on the front lines, people who are seeing reports, people who are living the days in technology, find out where your data governance and data management tool set can help, and start focusing small, valuable initiatives and grow it over time. That big bang approach without a whole lot of resources and a whole lot of patience is simply not going to work. And one little thing on the data quality side is to define data quality dimensions by the requirement of the data, and avoid the accuracy dimension when you can't actually see that physical thing in front of you. I hate that accuracy dimension. If anything, that's probably the hardest one to work with, but it's, for some reason in Canadian law, it's the one that's written into our regulation.
Interesting. So you guys have been doing this a long time, made a lot of mistakes. How many scars do you have in your back from all those mistakes?
So from the scars, I think it's important to build that culture of learning and say up front in the initiative, look, we're going to start. This is good enough to start. We're going to learn along the way. And I don't think we need to work through scars or our lineup of executives with bats hitting you over the head because you messed up. If you set the expectations right up front, I think we can grow together.
Well, and one of the challenges that, something that will work for one organization won't work for another. So it's not necessarily a mistake. It's a learning opportunity. And that's one of the biggest challenges of data governance is you can't just come up with a template or framework that will work for everyone. A lot of it is dependent on culture, and there's some trial and error involved. And both Josh and I have been doing it long enough so we can get a good sense of what's going to work and what's not going to work. But sometimes we miss the mark a little bit and have to adjust. And it's in how quickly can you adjust and get back on track. That's the challenge.
Yep.
Well, great.
Yeah, I agree.
Thanks both of you for your insights.